The animals believed the whispering tree was cursed, but the night Pip finally listened to its whispers, he uncovered a secret that changed Sunlit Valley forever. Far beyond the rolling green hills of Sunlit Valley, where golden sunlight painted the grass like shimmering silk, stood a tree no animal dared approach. It was called the Whispering Tree. Its enormous silver branches stretched across the dark edge of the forest like twisted arms, and whenever the wind blew through its crystal-like leaves, strange whispers echoed through the valley. Shh! Wait! The sound made even the bravest animals tremble. The older animals warned everyone to stay far away. "The tree is cursed," the old badger always muttered. "It whispers to lure creatures into the shadows." Most animals believed him, except for Pip. Pip was a young fox with oversized ears, bright amber eyes, and curiosity far too big for his tiny body. While the other animals avoided mystery, Pip chased it. He asked questions about everything: why fireflies glowed, why owls only hunted at night, why rivers never stopped moving, and most importantly, why the whispering tree whispered at all. Every time the wind drifted through the valley, Pip's large ears twitched. The whispers didn't sound angry to him. They sounded lonely. One cool autumn afternoon, Pip was playing catch near the forest edge with his best friend, Barnaby, a nervous little rabbit who worried about absolutely everything. Barnaby carried his favorite possession everywhere: a smooth wooden acorn ball carved by his grandfather many winters ago. "Don't throw it too hard," Barnaby squeaked. Pip grinned mischievously. "I won't." But 1 second later, whoosh! The acorn ball flew high through the air. Too high. Barnaby gasped. The ball bounced across the grass, rolled down a hill, and disappeared straight into the tangled roots of the whispering tree. Everything went silent. Barnaby's ears flattened instantly. "Oh no," he whispered. "Not there." The wind stirred softly. "Shh! Help!" Pip felt chills race beneath his fur. Even from far away, the tree looked enormous now. Dark shadows curled around its roots, and the silver leaves swayed like ghostly feathers. Barnaby backed away nervously. "We should leave," he whispered quickly. "The tree's awake." Pip's heart pounded. Every scary story he had ever heard suddenly returned to him all at once. But then he looked at Barnaby. The little rabbit looked devastated. Slowly, Pip swallowed his fear. "I'll go get it," he said quietly. Barnaby stared at him in horror. "You're going near the tree?" Pip's paws trembled slightly. Maybe it's not what everyone thinks. The moment Pip stepped beyond the warm sunlight, the air changed. The forest became colder. The wind sounded heavier. The whispers grew louder. "Shh, please." Pip's tail puffed nervously behind him. He moved carefully toward the giant roots, his paws crunching softly against fallen leaves. The closer he got, the stranger the tree looked. The silver leaves weren't normal leaves at all. They sparkled like crystal. Pip reached into the tangled roots, searching carefully through the shadows. Then, his paw touched the wooden acorn. "Got it!" He relief flooded his chest. But just as he turned to run, crack! A powerful gust of wind exploded through the branches above him. "Tangled!" Pip froze. That whisper, it didn't sound evil. It sounded sad. Slowly, Pip lifted his head, and what he saw stole the breath from his lungs. Hidden deep within the glowing silver branches were dozens of tiny blue birds. They shimmered softly like floating lanterns, but they weren't flying, they were trapped. Thick, thorn-covered vines had wrapped tightly around the branches, pinning the glowing birds and crystal leaves in place. Whenever the wind blew, the trapped leaves scraped together, creating the eerie whispers the valley feared. The tree wasn't haunted, it was hurting, and the birds were crying for help. Pip completely forgot about being scared. Without thinking twice, he tucked Barnaby's acorns safely into his fur and began climbing the giant tree. The bark was rough and slippery beneath his paws. More than once, he nearly fell, but every time he heard the tiny trapped birds chirping weakly above him, he climbed higher. When Pip reached the first vine, he dug in his tiny claws. The vine cracked apart. Instantly, several glowing birds burst free into the air, circling happily around his head. Soft blue light flooded the branches, and for the first time, the whispering tree made a beautiful sound. Tiny crystal chimes danced through the wind. Pip smiled, then climbed higher. One vine after another fell away. More birds escaped. More crystal leaves shimmered freely in the wind. The dark whispers slowly transformed into soft, magical music. Below the tree, Barnaby stared upward in complete disbelief. Soon, other animals cautiously gathered near the forest edge. None of them could believe what they were seeing. The terrifying whispering tree was glowing beautifully beneath the evening sky. Finally, Pip climbed back down the branches, exhausted, but smiling proudly. Barnaby ran forward immediately. "You did it!" he cried. Pip handed him the wooden acorn and looked back at the glowing tree. The crystal leaves whispered softly overhead. But now, the whispers no longer sounded frightening. They sounded peaceful. From that day on, the animals of Sunlit Valley never feared the whispering tree again. Every evening, they gathered beneath its glowing branches to listen to the magical songs drifting through the wind. And whenever Pip heard those gentle whispers above him, he smiled quietly to himself. Because sometimes, the things that seem the most frightening are only waiting for someone brave enough to listen.